According to the polls, Mr. Brown, only 2% of African Americans currently support Mr. Trump. So in any crowd, it's not going to be very many of them. Although we have certainly had Trump supporters of color on here. But I don't understand why, and let's take Trump out of the equation just for the moment, because Romney didn't do well, and McCain didn't do well in the African American single digits.
They both did better than him, though.
Yes, but not by a lot. Single digits for both.
Single digits, yes,
so
indeed.
why isn't the African community, American community, saying, look, you know what? We had a black president, didn't really help us very much. Democratic Party hasn't really helped us very much. Maybe we go supply-side economics and look for a guy who's going to stimulate the economy. That perhaps would be better. Why don't they do that?
Well, you also have to look at what Trump has said and done himself, not necessarily, as you would put it, being demonized, where in November of 2015, Trump retweeted a very highly inaccurate, casting African Americans in a bad light tweet that basically said black people killed 81% of white people. I mean, that was just totally inaccurate.
Okay,
you even addressed it on your show, Bill.
Let me just, yes, and I said that Mr. Trump was foolish to, quote, retweet a fallacious stat. All right? It wasn't a stat coming from him.
How do you
he
think
just picked it up.
How do I think
if I were an African-American guy, I would have been outraged. But again, I'm trying to transcend Trump and go to the policies that aren't working for the African-American community. It's obvious they're not working. It's obvious
that education
have an election
without looking at both sides.
Well, they're not. The African Americans aren't looking at both sides. They've written Trump off. I think that's pretty clear.
Because Trump and the Republican Party, it's not just Trump, as you're indicating.
Right.
The House of Representatives blocked everything that the president has been trying to do for 8 years.
Give me an example.
The Affordable Care Act.
Well, it passed.
It passed in spite of them, and it passed with compromises on a state-by-state level.
But you know what's happening now, right, Reverend?
Well,
with the Affordable Care Act?
The Affordable Care Act is in distress because of the various compromises that had to be made along the way.
No, that's not true. It's in distress because of the spending level that the federal government has put out there. So working class black Americans are paying far more for health insurance while some poor Americans get it free.
Black Americans, like any other group in America, are capable of determining their own best interest. And black Americans don't have a relationship with the Republican Party because of the hostile environment that they fostered for 8 years.
But I don't know if the Democratic Party, Mr. Brown, is doing them any good. Do you believe the Democratic Party is doing Africans any good right now?
One of the things I've seen, especially in the area of criminal justice reform with the Fair Sentencing Act, which removed the distinctions between crack cocaine and powder cocaine that disproportionately affected African American communities. So that was one major thing. Also in education, I think that's an area where President Obama has stepped up with the funding for schools based on racing towards the top instead of the racing towards the bottom. Common Core education.
I don't know if that is proven in the stats now, though. If you look at the stats, African-American schools lag behind white schools big time, and the Democratic Party has blocked the voucher system.
One of the
I just want to make Mr. Brown right. They have blocked the voucher system, which would give poor blacks an option to attend private schools, and they blocked that. All right, now
obviously, Bill, this problem wasn't created overnight. It won't be solved overnight.
But it's getting worse.
I've spoken to a number of educators in the charter school system, the voucher school system, and they say that these things are working for African American communities.
They're not working on paper. The stats are in stone.
One of the areas of distress in our community is at-risk male youth. This president has highlighted it, and Hillary Clinton has made a commitment to doing things like with the Eagle Academy in New York that exist in areas of distress.
I have been on board with President. Wait a minute, Mr. Brown. Wait a minute. I have been on board, as you know.
Yes,
I was at the White House.
We were together
with the Brothers Keeper Initiative, which I think is excellent. Okay. Since that time, I've done a lot to try to get that into the public eye, and have not been met with cooperation from President Obama. I wish he would, because it's a very good program. However, and this is the final word, when you look at a president, he's been in office almost 8 years, you have to evaluate what has been accomplished. And there's no question, according to the stats, that blacks are worse off. Gentlemen, great debate. Thanks very much. Next on the rundown, a shocking poll from the Los Angeles Times says Trump only